Imagine a world where you have every species, every creature created, every animal in the world in your fingertips, and you're able to combine them with other animals to make your own creatures. In fact, this concept was attacked in a game before that was released in 2002 known as Impossible Creatures, developed by Relic Entertainment and published by Microsoft Studios. This was a game that took the concept of taking two animals and combining it to making it into one. This game came out during a year where Age of Mythology, Warlords Battlecry 2, and Warcraft 3 all came out in the same year. So could this stand up against the great RTS games of all time? Well, we'll take a look as my three sections of graphics, audio, and of course the most important, the core aspect, the gameplay. So on to the graphics, and the first thing I will discuss about is how the cutscenes are in this game. There are in-game cinematics, but before every mission, they have these nice storyboards to really tell the story, and it gives this noir-esque feel. And plus, since this game takes place in the 1930s, this is great for atmosphere effects. You know, when I first popped this game back in, I could have sworn this game came from 2003 or 2004. But when I found that it came out from 2002, I was really shocked. The graphics are really superb, and the water effects are just great. Everything looks beautiful, the effects look great, everything just looks polished. This game is very polished when it comes to the graphics. Everything looks really nice. The environments are much varied. There's a lot of depth and foliage in the environments themselves. And the creatures don't look half bad, so the character design is really good. As said previously, everything is varied, and the effects look nice when you're destroying buildings and other creatures. So I will give it, for the most part, a 9 out of 10 for graphics. Really superb stuff for 2002, very impressive, especially for an RTS game.
What now, Rex?
Take me to Whitey Hootin'.
As you can tell right there, the voices are really superb and the music is top notch. One thing that I must give credit about the music is it really gives an atmosphere. As it's slowing down and nothing's really going on, the music tends to be slow, especially during the early stages of the game when you're just still building and you're trying to get your base all together. But when you're in combat, that's when the tempo of the music starts to pick up, and then it really changes and you really feel the intenseness and the urgency to get into combat. Something that is really impressive by this game. Now, I said some of the voices are really top notch. Then you have some of the villains. I mean, this person Whitey Hootin' sounds okay, but then again you'll hear the voice of the henchman over and over again. And also you'll eventually start hearing the same voices over and over again because there's very little voice work that was done.
Yes, boys. And get that blasted generator fixed, and bring me my bleeding coffee!
What this game does is, when something's going on, there's a lot of reminders, like to say if your lab is under attack or if your buildings are being under attack, and when an upgrade is complete. However, the one thing that gets really annoying in this game is when it continuously says your critters are under attack. Like, you obviously know if you send your guys out in a battle, your creatures are going to get under attack. But for some reason in this game they say it every single time, and repetitively, when you already know that your creatures are getting attacked. When you're fighting other animals and when your animals are moving, you hear sounds too, and you hear the sounds of animals as you're fighting others and when you're destroying buildings. So with all that said, I guess the audio is pretty good, the music is great, the voice is pretty good, not the greatest in the world, but good. I will have to give an 8 out of 10 for audio. Good music, good atmosphere and all that stuff, but just wish the voices were a little bit better and the reminders on the left were a little bit less annoying. On to the gameplay. Well, when you first start up, you're given the chance to create your own profile, and you have various options to go for. The campaign, do a skirmish against a player, but what I recommend is to go to the campaign first and hit new game and listen to a very extensive tutorial. I mean, this is one of the best new friendly RTS games that I can find, because they really explain and go in detail on every single mechanic in the game, and that's a really nice touch. So it prevents newer players that aren't really into the RTS genre to get into it and to really learn about the game itself. When I do say extensive, I really do mean extensive. I mean, they get into every single category about the game, teach you about some various abilities that animals will have and how you can get them on your creatures, and even shows you the step-by-step on how to create creatures using the creature creator. So how's the campaign? Well, you basically play as a couple of guys, and these guys are your protagonists. You have Rex Chance, who is this young, adventurous guy who has a pretty good backstory. And he's coming here to try to find his father, Dr. Chanical. However, he cannot find this person without the help of this young scientist named Lucy Willing. She's a young scientist. She comes in. She's very ambitious as well. She also is very quirky. A lot of fun to interact with and use in the game. They work together in order to stop Upton Julius, who was trying to take this technology, this Sigma technology, to combine the other creatures together for his own purposes. They try to stop him, and they work together through various obstacles, and it's actually an interesting journey. Both are vital in order to succeed in the campaign. You need to use Rex in order to collect DNA with his rifle from the other animals.
Sounds like a plan.
Therefore, you can use the
No
animals and combine
problem.
them together, as mentioned
go.
previously, and is the whole concept of the game.
Object. Okay.
Lucy is also a very unique
Science.
character as well. Not only could she serve as a henchman by gathering
away.
coal and building various
can I
buildings,
help you?
but
I'll
she
get
can
on
also
that
research them
directly.
from your enemies to gain new technologies and to sabotage buildings as well.
Right away.
So like any RTS game, you have to build buildings and collect
building is
resources,
complete.
and you also have a population limit. In this game, you have two resources, coal and electricity. Coal can be gathered from various coal mines, and electricity can be produced by various buildings. One thing that I did realize though is I was often
building
collecting
requested
more
is
coal,
complete.
and I had to use a lot more coal than I had electricity.
Okay.
Towards the beginning, middle of games, I had so much
All right.
electricity that it really became a second thing, and I had to focus
You're the
more on
boss.
gathering coal than I did with electricity. Now on to the creature creator, and personally, this is where the game shines. I mean, you could take any two animals that you want, and there are a whole bunch of animals, and trust me, there are some unique combinations that I've seen, not only online, but combinations that I've made myself. Now, there are three types of creatures in general. You have your land creatures, you have your swimming creatures, and you have your air creatures. And there's also amphibious too, so they can swim and be on land as well. There are also many things to look at, like health, defense, speed, sight, size, and melee damage and rain damage, plus also special abilities. And using specific parts and specific limbs on each creature will give you unique combinations. However, I wish they went a little bit more advanced. Like, why limit it to 2 creatures? Why not be crazy and go 3, 4 creatures, even 5 creatures, one part representing each animal? Think about that. That would be really cool if they ever made a sequel. Another cool thing about creating your army and creating your creatures is that there's an army analysis feature that actually breaks down the pros and the cons of your army, and that's a very nice touch. Now on to the combat. After you come out and you build your creatures and you send them out, it's off to
critters are
fight.
under
Sometimes
attack.
you have to defend, like in all RTS games, and other times you attack. But one thing I will have to say is the AI in this game is really easy. I mean, they do have strategies and
critters
they
are
do
under
keep you on your
attack.
toes by mixing up creatures and stuff like that. But one thing I realized that they don't do is towards the later levels, when you start researching the level 4s and the level 5
critters are
creatures,
under attack.
the game starts to be a little imbalanced, and to your favor, because it seems like the AI still tries to maintain a balance between all level
critters are under
characters,
attack.
level 1s and level 5s. When you have all your level 4s and 5s out there, your top tier characters, and they still have some of their mid tier and low tier. And
The
it just
critters
feels
are
a
under
little
attack.
imbalanced, and it
This
feels like
coal
you
pile
get
is
a
out of
lot out of
coal.
it, and you could take advantage of this AI. One thing about this game is it offers many
critters are under
strategies. You could
attack.
be a guy who likes to use the creature's abilities more often. You could be a guy who likes to use a lot of more melee attacks. You can like to take it to the skies if you want to take it to the sea. However you like to fight, you will find a way to win. However, I do feel like the bigger tank characters are more powerful in this game rather than the speed characters. I feel like the tanks, the ones that can take a lot of hits and dish them out, are the ones that usually win the battle. Also, you can also add upgrades to your creatures as well. I just wish there was more buildings and stuff like that to play around with in this game. So because of that, I will give the gameplay a solid 8.5 out of 10. There's a lot of fun to be had with the gameplay, and I still want to go and just experiment with the creatures, but I do wish there was more of a strategic depth, if you get what I mean, and if the AI proved somewhat more of a challenge. Now for the closing thoughts. When I used to play this game back in the day, I never thought it was that great, and I never saw as much innovation as I do now. Now that I'm older, I appreciate the game more, and I feel like this has gotten better with age, and I really believe that this concept should be tackled again. I mean, just think of it, taking creatures, combining them into making one, making just anything. You could create a million and one impossibilities about that game, and just that alone just makes this game worthwhile. And because of that, I have to give this game a 9.0 out of 10 overall. This game I can keep coming back to. There's a lot of fun to be had playing against the computer. There's a lot of maps and all that stuff. Plus, there's a free expansion pack on the official site if you go find it.
Right away.
This is Pow3rh0use signing off.